I'm Debbie Seguin. I am an elementary librarian here in Saginaw. This was my first year this last year. Two of my sons live in the Dallas area, and my daughter lives up in Clarendon. And so I wanted to move west. I'm kind of a country girl. And so even though I was living in the middle of the city, I knew that eventually I was going to want to move farther out. And so finances were really tight and very questionable, and I needed to do some things to try to figure that out after I was divorced. And so I started getting interested in real estate. And in the process of that, I found this little house out in Azle, fell in love with it. And at the time, I was a librarian in Plano, and I lived in an RV. So I lived in a fifth wheel when I moved up here in 2018. And mostly because I couldn't buy a house. And so eventually I was able to buy this little house, but then I needed to move closer to it. I couldn't commute that far. And so my next step in getting this little house is I had to rent it out. And so that first year that I was teaching over here, my tenants still had a contract, and so I couldn't move straight into my house. So I lived at a friend's apartment, and then finally at the end of April, my tenants were moving, and now it was time for me to finally, after all these years, I get to move into my house. When I drove up, and this is kind of normal, there was some trash bags and stuff on the front porch and by the mailbox. I'm like, okay, I kind of expected that. But then I went into the backyard and I walked into the house, and it was just absolutely devastating. I didn't even know how people could make that much of a mess in just, 24 months. And it was just, it was really gross. They'd let the dogs have the run. It was like a roach motel. There were roaches everywhere. And it didn't look anything like the house that I had, originally purchased.
When I first heard about the house project, it was during the time when the cleanup had to begin. And I saw truly a lot of the damage that was done, a lot of the filth that had to be removed. And what I felt immediately was, this is not meant to go it alone. And I know that because of this place that I'm so blessed to be a part of, and because of extended family and community, I just knew that the Lord had given right in front of me resources that we need to combine in order to make this right.
For the few weeks leading up to that, Stephanie Franklin had called me a couple times, and she's like, hey, I think I have a couple of couches, those ones we have upstairs. The kids are gone. We want to get rid of those couches. I'm like, great, now I've got couches. Check. And then she called back later and she goes, hey, I found you a queen bed. Great, now I have a place to sleep. So I have a place to sit, place to sleep. Check. And then she said, I think we have, Momo's got a table that is just sitting in her garage. It's a dining room table. I'm like, and a table, check. So I had a bed and couches and a table.
A few months before Debbie was going to make the transition into her home, we began thinking about what might make that some of the renovations that needed to be done possible. She said, I've saved this much money to work on these things, but really I'm starting over. So I need some big ticket items. I need some furniture, some couches, some fridge, a table, those kinds of things. And so we just began praying about it. And then those items were donated, and that's really exciting. So she was able to go into her house project with some money for floors, and her grown sons and my husband and her brother doing some of the labor to make the house, livable and where she could move into it. I think none of us really knew until the people that had lived there before handed over the keys what damage had been done. It was structural damage. There was damage in the bathroom and in the kitchen areas, and just in some things that really the budget would not have even covered. And it was pretty shocking what was unfolding in terms of what would need to be done to really make the house be livable again?
I got a call from Stephanie. She told me that she had reached out to Bart, and Bart had shared about the Faith Works ministry with her, and then she went on to tell me about Debby and the project that they were doing, and basically said that they had a timeline and they wanted to get Debby in by a certain time. So I didn't pause. I didn't say. I'm just like, okay, when do I need to be there, right?
It was just like a snowball. It just went viral. And I don't mean online viral. I mean person to person viral. And it was like just this community came together to help me. I'm nobody special. I'm just a normal person. And most of those people didn't even know me. And they just wanted to be a part of this miracle. And there's really almost no words to explain, because if you see the house now, it's like an Airbnb. It's just amazing. I can go there and feel safe. I can feel comfortable. I can feel proud of this little home. It's a place where my family is going to come. Being able to host my children and their children in my own home. I haven't done that for close to a decade. And that's what I did. The 30 years I was married, I did all of that. And have not been able to do that. The Franklin family has allowed me to have special things at their house, and it's just been so amazing. But to be able to do that in my own house, it's honestly like a dream come true.
They had a lot of the project done. It was just coming in and doing things that, like I did mudding and taping, I did the baseboards, and then, but they made me feel like a team member, all tasked to do that one common project. And then we got to talking more, and the full team came back and we put the appliances in. We switched out all the outlets, all the light switches, all the covers.
Made some things safe.
A lot of people came together for this, and that's what we believe FaithWorks is it's not just our team. If there's help that needs to be done within the church, I'll get calls about other projects, and they'll say, hey, can your FaithWorks team come out and assist those that are already helping? And that's what our mission is to get out there and Bart and Randy say it all the time. We are the church. The church is just here as a building. We are the church to go out, share the gospel, and then share what God has done for us, and the talents that we have, go use those talents to help others. And that's what this group is about.
One of the things that just blew my mind is there really was no end goal. It was just listening to the Lord, and He is so wonderful and gracious. He spoke and He opened doors. He would prompt me to make a phone call or send out a text message, and I would say, are you sure that we need to do that, Lord? And He'd be like, you need to do that. And so I would reach someone, and by allowing other people into the process, they did things that there's no way I would have, not only the means or resources or the talent. We were able to receive not only financially what was needed to restore this beautiful home, but we also got this army of skilled people by sharing the need with Bart and Hope that we needed a mattress. I go to their house to pick up a mattress and was introduced to FaithWorks. And because FaithWorks came in the time of the project, just in God's timing and just when we needed. Had they been there at the beginning, I might not have known what we needed, because there was no end goal. God was just revealing it one day at a time.
This house, just everything that's happened with it, it's been such a journey, and it has helped me in my spiritual walk immensely for a lot of reasons. One of the reasons is because to see people in the church take their time and their efforts and their skills, and in some cases even their monetary gifts, to help me was like, it kind of took me aback. I really didn't know how to handle that. It was such a lesson in how God uses the community of a church, Christ followers, to come together, and everybody does a little bit, or some people do a lot. It doesn't really matter. It all comes together into this beautiful picture. And it helped me to see that there are Christians, particularly in this church, they're there to say, what can I do to help you? Well, I love Jesus, and because I love Jesus, this is what I want to do for you. How can I help you? And there's no expectations of anything on anybody's part. So it has been very healing. When you live with abuse for a long time, you start to believe that you're not worth anything. You're certainly not worth an entire group of people coming together to help you build this beautiful home. That's like way beyond what I ever thought anybody would do for me. And it's just helped me understand there are people that love Jesus that want to help other people. That's like their whole walk. And I happen to be the recipient of that this time, and it has healed my heart immensely.